It is hard to believe that we are wounding down. Did I say wounding down? Rounding down? I don't know. January is almost ending and we're starting February. And this is my favorite episode of the month because we've got our in-house astrologer, Chiron Yeng, in the house. Welcome, Chiron.
Thanks for having me and Happy New Year.
Oh, always a pleasure. And then, of course, Tom is joining us today, which is kind of exciting because we're in the midst of Aquarius. So his son's, sun thing is coming up.
Happy
His sun,
birthday.
it's almost here.
Thank you, Chiron. Thank you, Teresa.
So that's pretty exciting that he's joining us on this really exciting episode. Yeah, so we'll go ahead and just get started. I want to share a little bit about what we do in this episode in case this is your first time ever watching this. This is our one of the month, first at the beginning of the month episode where we share about what is going on astrologically, and that's through Chiron's expertise because he's an evolutionary astrologer. And then from what our end on TNT SpiritWorks, we do share our evolutionary energy calendar, which is something that we do sell through TNT SpiritWorks. It's a calendar that showcases 7 different energy patterns that are coming onto the planet. And on the actual calendar, there's breakouts in color of what each of the colors are and the energies. And you can actually download a free copy of the upcoming month for this month, which will be February, in the show notes. So you can check out that. And we oftentimes suggest you do that before we get started, because what I do and what we do together on this episode is I will write down when Chiron's mentioning something's happening in the month, I'll look at the energy and I'll write it down so I have a key for myself as I move through the month. Anything else you want to share about the calendar, Tom?
No.
You're good?
I think you summed it up well.
Okay, awesome. Well, and so the first thing we want to do is we want to just regroup a little bit about January, because a couple months ago you made a real good thing, Chiron. You said that, how all the energy flows together like month after month. So even though we go from a certain theme to a certain theme, it all kind of flows in the same stream, so to speak, so I would like to go ahead and begin with January, which was the theme of synchronize. And it had some keywords of attune, agree, organize, integrate, and mesh. And I'd love for you, Chiron, to share a little bit about how the energy and what you noticed astrologically, how the month was for you.
Well, there's so much balancing act that we have to pull together that sometimes we have a lot of things that we want to do, especially when all the craze about New Year resolution, new goals, new me. And there's so much like things that we want, and a lot of us are going out there outside of ourselves to look at shiny objects, to look for things that could really potentially help to resolve a certain lack within. And I think January, it kind of like exaggerate that for 2025 because of the Mars retrograde cycle, where there's a Mars Pluto position going on when we started January, and then in the middle of the month there's a Sun Mars position, which is the peak of the Mars retrograde, where there's a lot of doubt, there's a lot of like feeling of exhaustion, burnout. I'm not sure if this is where I want to go, and I assume that with the many weeks forward, we will feel like there's a need for a deep radical change, right? Sometimes we think that we need some form of solution outside of ourselves, but what we really need to change is who we are, how we think about things, and maybe realign some level of desires, because a lot of things that we think we want is not what we truly want. And this is where that disillusionment just kind of falls away, and you go like, wait a minute, life is more simple than I thought.
And so
I
how
wonder
did
if you guys have that experience?
Yeah, I guess do you want to share a little about how what month was for you, Tom?
Well, one of the keys for me was really practicing being present in everything that I did. So instead of falling for old habits of, being under pressure or putting a little bit of pressure on myself, I had a business opportunity where I was quite busy. And I noticed that, while I enjoyed it, there were times where I'd make it harder on myself by putting a little pressure, to be perfect. So one of the things that I've been really focusing on lately, and which is a little bit aligned with what you were talking about, is just being that still calm within and trusting that that's okay. If I'm just still and calm, and I'm willing to be of service, everything's okay, no matter where the other people are at. Staying somewhat detached from their drama and being of service to them but making sure that I stay still within and just enjoying the moment, really living in the moment, which sounds funny in a way. Like, we always talk about, well, be in the present, live in the present. That's why they call it a
Cliche.
present.
Yeah,
And
cliches.
so what, how does that feel? I guess that's what the feeling of living in the present for me is, just really calm, cool, calm, collected within, and not having thinking about outcomes so much, just being there and doing the best that I can. Maintaining, being diligent to maintain that positive attitude and not get, just notice when I started noticing when I was falling into old habits of, either lingering on something too long or trying too hard, instead replacing it with a feeling of just that calmness and feeling like that slipstream, that trusting that the slipstream behind me is going to move me forward. I still have to take action, to magnetize something. It involves me taking some action, but not stressing about the action, if you know what I mean. Like in a way, the religious concept is you've got to worry about it and keep praying for it. And, it's got this hard feeling to it, instead of saying, okay, this is what I want to do. I sincerely feel like I want to be of service. Now let's just go and be involved.
Yeah, and I guess for myself, the word synchronize, it really was a feeling for myself also, because I came to my 90 days in my new job, which I love my new job so much. So I felt there was almost like a synchronization of from where I was 90 days ago and to where I'm at now. And everything is really flowing well. Like I'm understanding how to do the job properly. People at the job are saying how well I'm doing in it in this short period of time that I've done it. And I've never done accounting before. So it's been a really great month. And also, I think also with the presidential shift and all of that stuff coming into play also around the 20th, that really also for myself, and I noticed a synchronization around even the other side. They're kind of, taking notice and shifting a bit of what they've been doing for the last couple of years. So it was really an interesting feeling for myself. And it was a feeling of expansion, honestly. So that's my take of the month, definitely.
Kind of like
Yeah.
when you're in the slipstream or you're in that current, it's hard to ride against the current. It's a lot easier to just go with that direction.
Yeah. Which brings me to the next highlight of the nodal axis shift. We had a 1.5 years of Aries Libra, where the theme of our evolutionary growth of our soul was really about relationships, asserting ourselves. Who am I? And then who is with me, or, who is against me? So there was a lot of relationship breakdowns in the last 18 months. And there's a lot of integration going on this month onwards to really understand why did that had to happen, what is the bigger picture of things, and can I understand there's a bigger stream, like Tom has mentioned, guiding us, moving us towards the greater good that we still can't see right now. And this is what I mean, that what we think we want is not what we actually want. And there's basically this disillusionment of maybe I don't want to do this anymore, right? Or maybe I just want to hang out with you anymore. Or maybe that this is not just, this is just in the end. And let's begin anew, right? And from that perspective, I always trust that there's grace in everything, that everything has to happen, as cliche as it sounds, for a reason. And life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you and for a greater reason that we don't understand yet. But when we actually let go and allow the stream to take us, the synchronistic part of it is that what it leads us to where we actually truly desire, not just within us, but for all of us around us. So there's this theme that we are coming back home to this bigger collective understanding that we are all one, because of the Pisces Virgo axis. And this theme is going to amplify as the month goes on.
Okay, so I think that's a good place to tell you what the upcoming word or energy theme of the month is. And I haven't shared this with Tom yet either, because I wanted him to get his insights when, right here, right when we're listening to it. So For February, the overall major concept influencing this month is the keyword of seek,
Seek.
SEEK. And some of the corresponding words for that suggested words are aspire, adventure, aim, improve, and go.
Aspire, adventure,
Aspire.
aim, improve, and go. Seek.
So I'll just say for myself, when I first read it, because I just read it about 15, 20 minutes ago, because I pull them out right before we do it. And I literally had a visceral reaction in my heart about this. So there's been a lot of talk, and, Tom and I and another partner came together and started another podcast this month. And we're actually just did episode 5. And we're feeling an expansion coming. So this thing of seek and aspire and improve and go, it's exactly like what we're doing right now in that endeavor. And also I just feel that in the bigger picture too. So it literally was for myself a visceral feeling when I read that word. So anyone want to share what Chiron, you want to share how that word feels for you?
Seek.
It feels like what you're seeking is seeking you. And there's something about availability, opening up yourself to listen to your muses, to your intuition, to the higher calling. Vision quest comes to mind for me. And I think we are all lost, actually. For us to even want to begin seeking, there's a feeling of loss and confusion. But the moments of loss, confusion, and doubt is the moment before the feeling of enlightenment, the feeling of like a breakthrough, a feeling of like an aha moment. So if anybody is going through some form of like tremendous self-doubt because life didn't go your way or what you expect, perhaps this month is where that feeling of like new possibility might start to enter for you in your life.
Yeah, I relate to that in that as a follow-on to January, that's one of the themes that I've been aware of is how, as I go through the motions and put energy into gaining opportunities that I'd like to gain or creating more opportunities, I have had this feeling behind it all when I'm, stay relaxed is that, that's actually probably to my benefit that this just happened this way, this thing that in my intellectually, you might say, my intellect says, oh, I wish it would have gone this way, or I need it to happen that way, when really in my feelings, everything is okay. And it is like I'm just kind of floating right towards the next bend in the river. And, I get that in terms of my sense of prophecy or that inner knowing, about the future. I do get that feeling like, oh yeah, and when that new opportunity presents itself, it's going to be quite apparent to me that's what I want to do. But it's hard for me to sometimes know what that is until it's there. So with my first gift of vision, I like to see it. I want it if it isn't clear in my mind yet. So that's probably as you bring up the vision quest, like keep that. What is my vision quest? How do I, picture that? Because that's what I'll move towards it. But in a simple way, I could say like, you're saying like, just be happy with what occurs, do the best I can, or that, follow those little hints from my guidance as to when to be in the right place at the right time, but accept the outcomes and just move on. Continue to move towards what I really am looking for, not so much what I think I'm looking for at that time.
So seek. So let's now dive into some astrology with you, Chiron. What's the first thing coming up in the month?
Neptune, Venus conjunction with the North Node on top of it.
And what day are we looking at?
1st February, literally.
Oh,
right.
today.
So the thing is that we end January with a new moon in Aquarius, and it's the Lunar New Year for us Asians. And then, right away we have something called a Venus-Neptune conjunction on the North Node. This is such a powerful, vortex of reconciliation, love, because Venus is the lower octave of Neptune. And if Venus is conditional love, then Neptune is unconditional love. And when they come together, I call it an all-encompassing love, meaning it's just a feeling of having your needs met at the same time, being connected to the unconditional parts where things are imperfect. And that's the point. So, I just want to clarify what I mean by, having all your needs met. The thing is that needs are always there. Everything that we need is right in front of us. It's just that we lack the perception to see it. And in the very Piscean energy, that kind of stuff is really stripping away our expectations, our disillusionment, our fantasies. And if we are so hung up with how things are supposed to be, how love is supposed to be, how manifesting your life is supposed to be, then, this is the time where we can either feel like, tremendous pain or grief to the fact that we have lost some sense of like an expectation towards something, or it could feel like an euphoric moment where we finally understood the point of our pain. So this is a really beautiful timing for, again, reconciliation. If there's any conflicts in the past that we feel like is unresolved, this is a time that we can be resolved. If there are anything that we feel like we have not enough, perhaps money or resources to get things started, maybe this is a time where a windfall comes to fulfill your need. And it's not like it suddenly came. It's more like your perception has opened enough to see it. And you go like, okay, let's try this thing. And then the synchronistic thing happens and you think it's a gift from God, which I understand, you can feel that way. And perhaps it is to a certain degree. But my point is that with the North Node involved, this is like, these two planets are basically on steroids, meaning it's like it's amplified, it's magnified. So we can feel so loving to one another and really feel each other's common humanity. But the dark side to this is that we can be so exposed in our boundaries about, my sense of what I need can be overly exposed or dissolved to a point that we can feel overwhelmed by everybody's energies too quick, too soon. And then this is what we don't want to do because it can flip us to the other spectrum of the polarity where we could feel resentful. Otherwise, this is a really great time to renew yourself by forgiving your past. And it's not about forgetting what people has done to you or whatever hurt that you have experienced, but to free yourself from the experience of the past so that it doesn't affect you in the present, so that you can recreate a new future by visioning towards the direction that you want and move on. Live your life. Share your gifts, be in the place of service, and receive the fulfillment that you're looking to have.
So, Tom, do you want to share what the energy is of that day?
Well, as we move into February, the 1st of February, all the way through the 5th of February, is friendship energy. And friendship is, I'll read it. What are your feelings of friendship? A sense of belonging can occur, feeling of wanting to help a friend, a feeling of doing or wanting to back someone through actions, appreciating what you receive.
I think the interesting thing about this day too is on the calendar, there's actually an eye, like an all-seeing eye. So that's
just an eye, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of, to me, it's like waking
eye.
Or like an open eye to what's going on.
I see something.
That's beautiful because we have the Aquarius new moon, right? Mercury is in close proximity to the sun in Aquarius. That means we can has this feeling of like insightful moments coming through. And then what's beautiful at February 5th, I think, Jupiter finally moves forward.
And that's
right?
my birthday.
That's your birthday.
That's Tom's birthday.
Jupiter starts to move forward, and Jupiter and Mercury has a lot to do with about vision, about logistical planning, both the long term and the short term. And I believe that when we can emotionally cleanse ourselves from all this bitterness that has happened from the past, then our mental faculty can be so open to receive new ideas that is creative. When we relax into the moment, when we let go all the resentment that we have, we become a clear vessel, right? To receive and become a channel for creativity, for God, for the universe to move through us. And this is beautiful because there's a series of things going on, in the planets. And right after that, at the end of the week, February 9, we have Sun Mercury conjunction in Aquarius. And it's going to square Uranus, which is the higher octave of Mercury. And this is this activation and the stimulation of the mind to be extremely creative, to plan out the life that you seek and to map it out with exact steps. And this whole week, the first week of February, the first 10 days is basically, surrendering yourself to something bigger so that you can transform the life that you seek to transform. And this means letting go of your expectations of what you think how things are supposed to run, so that you can really receive and change your plan. So this is a time where we need to be really, really flexible.
So from the 6th of February to the 8th of February, we move into what we call ambition energy. That's some of the keys for that are wants and inner desires, feeling of commitment, doing more, future inspirations. And there's a little symbol on the 8th of what, when, where, why. Getting the facts will lead me up the staircase. Then we go into the 9th through 11th into action energy, which is directed and moving, time to be alert, accomplishment with fulfillment.
So both of those action and ambition energies are a faster moving energy. So it's not like the family energy is kind of more not so quick. This can be like a quickening for sure, especially with what you're saying in the sense of, surrendering, but yet also maybe planning and being more creative and in the activation of some things that you may want to come into your life. It's definitely a good energy on both of those, and even the friendship, but the ambition and action are really good energies to get those things kind of going.
Yeah, I always find friendship energy to be very light. I noticed in business that, I'll go visit, say, a client or a customer, and there's always this nice, friendly, have a cup of coffee. It's probably a good energy for me to establish a couple of coffee meetings that I've been talking about with some potential clients. And it's just kind of easy. It's easy in that energy to get to know somebody a bit. And then ambition comes through a little stronger energy, faster moving, as you were saying, Teresa. And then that's, those wants and inner desires and the future inspirations. And then action is really being in action. And I always find, I say this every time, but boy, when it's action energy, thank God it shows up, because it's so easy to move through big projects and get filing done or get proposals out or communicate effectively. There's just a lot behind. It seems easy. There's a lot of energy and momentum, for accomplishment.
So then after that Sun-Mercury conjunction in Aquarius, what's the next thing happening?
Yeah, and I want to add one more thing about, taking action is when you have a plan, I think the really practical steps is to take action right away, because clarity comes in the doing, in the action. Because what we can do, what we can have in the doing is feedback. And feedback means more information. And this information is something you can't get by sitting in your chair just planning things out. And so I think planning and doing and taking action in those dates, like what Tom has mentioned, has to come together at every given moment. Personally, in my own life, I'm always planning, pivoting, acting, listening, all at the same time to really understand, okay, what's going on? What's my next move? And there must be a balance between intuition and intellect, where the combination of both and it draws down into the body and is powered through some form of will. That's where all the manifestation synchronicity can start to happen, and it's really powerful. And all of this is going to climax on February 12th, right? With the full moon in Leo, where, the Sun-Mercury conjunction is still very close. And it's a T-square with, Uranus, but it's a grand cross when you include this asteroid called Juno. So what does that all mean? Again, when Uranus is involved, speed is involved, right? And it's a full moon. It's a combination of something in the sign of Leo where we can feel seen, acknowledged, heard, respected. And I imagine that, sometime around mid-February, 12th of February, or mid-February, because astrology is not just one day kind of stuff, right? it's a spread out of energy. We could feel as if like something has finally happened for us. It's like a manifestation, something they've been waiting for. It's coming, it's here. And this is where we need to be receptive, right? We need to be in a place of receptivity. And receptivity is not passive, it's actually actively opening your heart and your eyes and your everything to really accept the things that comes true to us. Because more often than not, when people compliment us, now we push it away, right? When people are trying to give us something, we push it away. When the universe is showing you signs to, hey, take this leap, take this door, say yes to this, and we say no because of whatever reasons. Now the thing is, with all the action energy that was leading up to this moment, say yes.
Do it.
Right? Say thank you. Like, oh my God, thank you. Every little win counts. And because we are so stuck in the sense where we're always looking at the biggest possible thing that we want, and we get caught up by the gap between where we are now and what we want to have, and we lose that sense of perspective, thinking that we are not doing good enough, when in reality, so much good things are happening.
Well, it's
So
wild that you say that for the 12th of February, because we move into 2 days of what we call orientation. And that's a time of getting the facts, knowing where you are, and a feeling of newness. So as you were sharing, with that energy of the planets moving you fast into this new situation is usually when you have to get oriented. Like often when I've started jobs or moved into a new opportunity, it's amazing, but this period of orientation shows up. And it can feel slower when you're into something, new, but it is a time to, okay, it's flowing really nicely from friendship to ambition. Now you know what you really want. Now you're taking action towards it, and then, okay, let's get the facts. And all the planets that you mentioned, I can see how that energy backs that opportunity, that situation.
yeah, it's so powerful to
Absolutely.
like, when you see something, act right away, make plans, realign, take feedback, keep moving. And when it hits February, you're gonna receive something that you've always been wanting, and then just say yes to it. But the thing is, the yes is not at the moment itself. It has to start now. It has to start as soon as you hear this podcast. This is a sign for you to not just sit there and contemplate on things, but to get things moving and
You
then
know,
get the feedback.
Sorry about that. I relate to that because, I've had inklings about what's coming up, and it's not fully formed in my, vision, and it's not right there on a piece of paper in front of me. So it takes some trust. But what I heard you just say was go ahead and trust those inklings that you're getting. It looks like February, the energy is perfect for those to start to actualize, you might say, or it's going to be
Exactly.
more apparent what they really are. Release the past, because it's when I say what I want today, it's just my best definition of what I think I want. But until I get involved in action and start to discover where I'm really going and get more information, then it becomes more clear, and it's all part of the process.
Yeah, it's interesting
Yep.
too, because whenever there is definitely some stuff opening up differently for Tom than myself, and so I kept saying to him, it's like middle of February. I feel that
Oh
something's
yeah,
going to shoot.
you
Did I
did,
say that?
yeah.
Just like like week and a half ago, I said that. I said, yeah,
Yeah.
middle of February, and here we are, middle of February with you, Chiron.
And
Yeah.
I guess I want to reiterate that release. You've been sharing a lot about relationships and releasing, relationships, but the release can be in just little things that happen that maybe didn't go the way I thought I wanted it to go. And the other day, my guidance told me, in fact, I had a job interview that came up very quick that I didn't kind of expect. And I've interviewed with them once before. And my guidance said, release, don't think of it like the old one, because I was actually trying to prepare along the lines of the feedback I got before. But this idea of just let that old one go, just let it go. And then when I was in the interview, it was actually similar but very different vibe than the one I had been in prior. And I really couldn't prepare for it. I was somewhat prepared because I did meditate on like what experiences to share and things like that before that. But in fact, I loved being in the interview, even if the opportunity doesn't come through. I really enjoyed being in the interview with the people that I was with. So
Mhm. Yeah, and there's one more thing that I should mention that about this energy in February, combining the understanding of the Neptune-Venus conjunction and the North Node, is that new people can come through our lives when we finally release the old.
yeah,
New energies, new clients, new friends, new allies. And the combination happens in the full moon where, you know, this Leo Aquarius archetype is about a gathering of creative individuals to come together to work on a common vision. And then with Mercury in Aquarius, there can be a lot of new allies, partnership, friendship. And with the energy connected to Uranus, we can be connected to something bigger than ourselves to be part of a collective project. So there's a lot of collaboration going on, and especially with Jupiter moving forward as well in the sign of Gemini, the downloads of information is just going to bombard our system. And this is where I want to caution everybody, because as lovely and amazing this energy is, because there's opportunity everywhere.
uh-huh.
Again, it can come us in a flood of being too much too soon. And when our vessels are not prepared to receive something like that, especially our health, our energy, or our daily routines are not supporting this, then we can crash. So it's essential, again, as soon as you hear this, what is that daily thing that supports your bigger vision?
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm glad you brought that up because I was kind of tuning in earlier when we started this discussion about the month. Is that here in the Northern Hemisphere, we're in winter, hibernation time, time to be more inward. So as these new things start surfacing and start, bubbling up, it's definitely important to make sure that you do have your, your daily routines, the way that you take care of, like you're saying, especially the physical body, because it all comes energetically into either through intuition or even through the intellect. It comes into the body and we feel it. And so being in this time frame of the year, it's quite interesting because I know for myself, I can feel very action oriented or activated, but I'm also kind of a little more sluggish. Like lately, I haven't felt like working out as hard as I do, and other times in like say the spring or the summer. So I think that's a good thing to also to bring to the surface that just to really tap into where are you in the different parts of the world and how does that affect what you're feeling as you're going through these time frames, that there's a lot of activation going on.
Yeah.
What strikes me
Yeah, the
is,
question is, sorry, the
your
question is
sense.
like, do you enjoy what do you do,
Yeah.
in amongst the things that you want to have as an idea, but when you're actually doing it, do you really enjoy it? Is it something that is, that you think you need to have, or is something that is a path of your greatest excitement that where you did not need any motivation from external sources to tell you that this is good for you? I think it's really important to highlight that, because we can set up our lives with great habits and goals and ambitions, but if we don't enjoy the moment to moment process and we feel like it has to be motivated through some form of like external pursuits like money or whatever, or self-worth or love or whatnot, then we miss the point, right? We miss the mark. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you said that because I think to where we're at with our YouTube channel, we have this obviously podcast on our YouTube, and then we also have our new Discerning News program that we have every week. And I noticed that for myself, there's some aspects of it on both that I'm very excited about, and then some I'm not. So like, really recognizing what am I feeding? What am I taking in that's really feeding my soul at this time and what isn't, and kind of, letting things kind of, shift and change the way they need to.
And I guess what occurs to me is, the balance between, the intellectually, in my intellect, that's the part that organizes my feelings. So intellectually, I may know steps to go through the motions of things, but if I don't have a spiritual goal whilst I go through those motions, especially an older guy like me, like I've done a lot of these things I'm always doing new things, but there's a lot that I've done before. But the difference between now and then, I would say, is I'm more focused on how am I feeling? Do I feel calm and collected? Do I feel smooth in my interactions? I set a goal recently to just really be in more balance from transaction and activity to another activity. And when I focused on that, like it wasn't I didn't do 100% in balance every day. Like I had times where I felt, hey, the last 3 transactions I've really felt in balance. That was really fun. Oh, that one, I got a bit stimulated by that grumpy old lady, and didn't enjoy that so much. Okay, so what's my, how I just set the goal every day to continue to refine that. And it was really interesting because I came up to the end of an opportunity, and the last few days just seemed really smooth, for the most part. Like I would have rated myself at a 92% rather than, a 65%, maybe like early on, or 75%. So I just, and I noticed that people around me were changing, and they were different to me than they had been, or I perceived them to be before. So in other words, just when I'm really focusing, sometimes that spiritual like goal is just something very simple. But what I was going to share earlier with you is that, I know that your specialty really is working with health, and healing yourself and so forth. And as you were sharing about the energies that would move in, it gave me that impression of how, so that's how it works, where you get discombobulated. I can't put it in your words. You put it so beautifully, where then the flow, just backs up, and then the health issues, come to the fore, which are red flags that, I'm not imbalanced spiritually. I don't have the spiritual side of it clear for myself, or I'm not organized. One of the two.
Completely. I think to put it simply, I think the universe, or I think it's a law of the universe that we are to come back to our authentic self, right? It's almost like there's a foolproof homeostasis system that happens in the universe, internally and externally, right? Because when we are the most authentic self, when we don't put on a mask, we are relaxed, we are calm, we're composed, we are in this rest state, we are in the place of social and connection and our energy. And this is where, energy flows in our system, in our chi and our prana, which energizes every single cell within us, and it functions, right? We become healthy. The same thing on the external side of things. Like when we downplay our self-worth, we're going to attract arrogant people into our life, or parasitic people in our life, is going to take advantage of us to wake us up to own our power. Because if you don't value your own worth, someone's going to value you and take advantage of you. The same thing if we overinflate ourselves and became so confident, so cocky in the things that we think we don't need to learn anymore. Again, life is going to humble us and to return us back to the humble seat. And we're going to feel this more and more as we move on this month in February and towards March. And because the theme here is basically we're moving into a lot of Pisces energy, and it's really a lot about surrendering and seeing the truth, right? As they say, as Maurice, my mentors, astrology mentors say, Pisces is really about the end of hoping and the beginning of truth. And I love that so much. And this ties into what happens in the end of February, right?
Well, due to unforeseen technical difficulties in Chiron Yeng's Malaysia area of the world, we unfortunately had to cut that episode short because we had technical difficulty. We lost the recording with Chiron.
Well, we have 38 chocker block packed full minutes.
Yes, we hope that you enjoyed the minutes we captured with Chiron. There were some really great insights and wisdom, and hopefully next month we'll try it again. I know this is the second month in a row we've had some technical difficulties, but it's what happens when you're working with someone that's around the world, and in a different part of the world, things just happen. So we just want to apologize for cutting it short, but again, hope that you got really good insights in the 38 minutes we did capture.
Yeah, and take a look at the show notes for the downloads, so you can get your free February energy calendar. And that'll give you some insights on some of the comments we made earlier in the program. Will probably help you understand what's happening later.
Absolutely. And also,
in the month.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can also check out the show notes for any for Chiron's information of what he's got going on. He's got a lot of great things going on right now for himself and his business, and support he offers people through his beautiful program. So until next week, first we want to thank you again for listening in and or watching on our YouTube channel. We appreciate you so very much, and you are the reason why we keep doing what we do, right, Tom?
That's right.
So until next week, just remember, life is
Too short to not be enthusiastic about your unique journey.
To keep the enthusiasm going, please like, subscribe, or comment below. We would love to hear from you.